Hello K-Hubbers! Look at this poster. It's nice, isn't it? You can tell that the artist who made this is very talented. But do you notice anything wrong with this picture? Right! The artist got some of the colors mixed up. It's because the artist who made this is colorblind.
Notebooks and pens are landing on the runway. Warm memories served on the cafeteria tray. You and I together chasing dreams in the hallway. School bell rings and it's another day. Hey! Knowledge and truth is a hub that they can take away. We'll fly and level up together forever without delay. So let's start today and everything's gonna be okay. Let's start today and everything's gonna be okay.
Being colorblind doesn't mean a person cannot see any color at all. It means that he has trouble seeing the difference between certain colors like red and green. Colorblindness is almost always an inherited trait, and boys are far more likely to be colorblind than girls. This is because it is a sex-linked trait. To find out more about human sex traits and the different types of inheritance, let's listen to Mr. Justin Ray Guse, a BS Biology graduate from UP Diliman and teacher of Biology 1, Laboratory Techniques and Field Biology at Philippine Science High School, as he explains sex determination in humans.
Do you need to go to the clinic?
I'm fine. These are just minor bruises.
Yeah, Neil is an active person. He's used to having banged up knees and elbows. No big deal.
If you play a lot of sports, you would probably know about cuts and bruises. But for guys with rare bleeding disorder like hemophilia, what's minor to you is fatal for him.
Sir, what is hemophilia?
Hemophilia is a disease that prevents blood from clotting properly. So if a person has it, he will bleed more than someone without hemophilia. It is a sex-linked X chromosome disorder.
Sir, what are sex-linked chromosome disorders?
And how do we know if we have them?
Before I explain sex-linked traits and sex-linked disorders, you must first be familiar with the human chromosome.
Okay.
In 1956, a new field in the study of chromosomes, called cytogenetics, began the discovery of 23 pairs of chromosomes in the human somatic cells by Johin Tiho and Albert Levan. These include the findings that human chromosomal aberrations are the major causes of fetal death and human tragic diseases, many of which are accompanied by physical and mental retardation. Karyotype is the conventional representation of chromosome. It is made by arranging cutout photographs of metaphase chromosomes according to length and centromere position. Except for the sex chromosomes, the chromosome of both male and females are structurally similar.
Sir, what are the differences and similarities of female and male chromosomes?
Females are homogametic, while males are heterogametic. Homogametic means all gametes have one type of chromosome only. This means a normal female has 2 X chromosomes. Heterogametic means there are 2 types of gametes, one type containing an X chromosome and other type containing a Y chromosome, as in the case of male humans.
Sir, if males have XY chromosomes and females have XX chromosomes, does it mean that there are more chances of a girl being born instead of a boy?
Sex determination in human beings depends basically in the presence of Y chromosome in the fertilized egg. In fetus, this chromosome stimulates the undifferentiated sex organ to change into male gonads. This action of the Y chromosome further causes the development of the atomic structure typical of males.
In other words, the father determines the sex of the child with the contribution of either a sperm cell containing the X chromosome or a sperm cell containing the Y chromosome.
Yes, the egg made by the mother only contains the X chromosome. Sex of an individual can be determined in terms of chromosomal, gonadal, and anatomical features. Discrepancies in the gonadal and anatomical sex result in the development of hermaphrodites, or individuals who have both male and female reproductive organs. The absence of Y chromosome, testes, and anatomical feature typical of males result in a female offspring.
Sir, does gender really matter in determining a person's trait?
For most inherited traits, the gender of the bearer of the genes does not matter. Traits generally operate same in males as they do in females. But there are exceptions. These fall into three primary categories. Okay. Sex traits can be categorized into three types of inheritance: sex-linked, sex-limited, and sex-influenced. Examples of sex-linked traits are hemophilia and colorblindness. They are said to be linked because more males develop these traits than females.
Sir, earlier you mentioned that hemophilia is a sex-linked X chromosome disorder. Does that mean kids get it from their moms?
Yes, it is passed from the mother to the son through the X chromosome.
Oh, okay.
At least 115 genes on the X chromosome in humans have no counterpart on the Y chromosome. And since humans have more genes on the X than the Y, there are more X-linked traits than Y-linked traits. Traits influenced by these genes manifest the following characteristics. First, these traits cannot be transmitted from male to male. Second, carrier females, those who carry these genes on their X chromosomes, have a 50% chance of passing on these genes to their offspring. And lastly, fathers will pass on the genes to their daughters, who will become carriers of these genes. These sex-linked genes will show up in the sons of their carrier daughters.
Sir, so that means that girls are the carriers of the disease, but they rarely get them.
Very good. For a girl to get the disease, she would have to receive both affected X chromosome from her parents, which is very unlikely to happen, but not impossible. Hemophilia is rare in females, but it affects 1 out of every 10,000 males. A person with hemophilia or bleeder's disease commonly experiences bleeding in joints, which may be crippling.
Sir, what about colorblindness? Does it pass on from mother to son as well?
Yes, Justine. Colorblindness is another most common sex-linked X chromosome disorder.
Okay.
Humans have more genes on the X than the Y, and one of these X-linked genes is responsible for normal color vision. The dominant allele produces normal color vision, while the recessive allele causes color blindness. One form of color blindness is the inability to distinguish between red and green. Like in hemophilia, a man need only inherit one X with a sex-linked gene that causes color blindness, and he will have the condition, whereas females would have to inherit two X's with the disorder to have full-blown color blindness, since it is a recessive disorder.
Sir, what is the second type of sex trait inheritance?
The second inheritance is sex-limited. Sex-limited traits are generally autosomal, meaning that they are not found on the X or Y chromosomes. The genes for these traits behave exactly the same way that any autosomal gene behaves. Sex-limited traits are visible only within one sex. For example, there are genes which influence how much milk a lactating mother produces when she's nursing a baby. These genes are carried by both males and females, but only females ever express them.
And the third type of inheritance is sex-influenced.
That's right. Sex-influenced, like sex-limited traits, are autosomal, meaning that they are not carried on in the sex chromosomes. Sex-influenced traits are traits that are expressed indifferently in two sexes due to the influence of sex hormones. One such gene is baldness. Baldness is a trait more dominant in males than in females. Females are usually carriers of this trait, which they pass on their sons. Such trait becomes dominant in them only when they carry two genes for baldness.
For people who are concerned that they might carry certain variant genes, what should they do?
Genetic diseases can be managed either by prevention or by treatment. Prevention can be done through genetic counseling, prenatal screening, and avoiding unnecessary exposures to chemical mutagens in the environment. Genetic counseling employs in-depth study and analysis of a family's genetic makeup. A careful and thorough inquiry into a family's medical history by physicians or genetic experts allow construction of inheritance pattern in diseases or traits that run in the family. Prenatal diagnosis involves clinical procedures that check the condition of the fetus. One of these procedures is amniocentesis, in which a needle is injected into the uterus to get a sample of the amniotic fluid during the 15th to 17th week of pregnancy.
Sir, if genetic diseases can be managed, does it mean they can be cured?
The idea that genetic diseases are incurable is a common misconception. This is traceable to the lack of knowledge in modifying environmental conditions to prevent the existence of such disorder.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes, treatment involves a surgical procedure to repair physical defects. A bone marrow, kidney, or liver transplant may counteract the expression of the defective genes. Gene therapy, which involves correcting defective or non-functioning genes, is no longer a remote possibility. Continuous development in DNA technology bring promising, if not successful, treatments for many of these genetic defects.
Sir, while genetic disorders might be cured by modifying environmental conditions to prevent the existence of such disorders, the blood type we inherit through genes do not change as a result of environmental influences, right?
Yes, ABO blood types are inherited through genes, particularly in chromosome number 9. And this does not change as a result of environmental influences. The inheritance of ABO blood types is influenced by multiple alleles, namely IA, IB, and I. IA and IB are dominant while I is recessive. The alleles IA and IB are responsible for the production of antigens, which are protein molecules that elicit immune response.
I've tried donating blood once. They asked me a lot of questions about my medical history and had my blood pressure and blood count checked.
It is very important to note and to know one's blood type before blood transfusion.
Okay.
For example, if type A blood is given to a person with type B blood, the antibodies against type A present in the bloodstream of the recipient will attach antigen A and cause them to clump together. This process is known as agglutination. This action of antibodies against incompatible blood types can cause a notable shock and eventual death of the recipient of the blood.
Blood transfusions save lives every day. Hospitals use blood transfusions to help people who are injured or being treated from other diseases that affect the blood, like hemophilia.
Yeah, because of blood transfusion, people with hemophilia can now at least live normal lives.
Our school clinic has a blood drive next month. Why don't we all sign up and save lives?
That's a great idea. See you next month and stay healthy.
Yes, sir!
Life for people with a genetic disorder is much like life for any other person, but they need to take a few precautions. For example, heavy contact sports like basketball present a risk for someone with hemophilia, so he and the people he's playing with should all be very careful. People who are colorblind, especially those who can't tell the difference between red or green, should also be very cautious when driving. They must take extra care in responding to the way traffic signal lights up to avoid accidents. See you next time, K-Hubbers. Bye!